Hi everybody, this is Waldorf.
And this is Statler.
And today we're continuing our 1.9 beta review, rules review.
Yes, but technically we've made a little bit of a switch.
Correct. We're actually now going off the official book that was released.
Yes.
As opposed to our
Which I think it's actually now
version.
2.01 or something, isn't it?
Oh, it was a weird number, wasn't it? Okay, I'm not going to go look right now.
It's a 2.01B X small c A.
Correct.
721
version 17, because they put a version for
Pi.
every person so they could trace if you spread it out.
That's what it is. Yes.
Everyone generates their own version.
We all have our own version.
Anyway, this time we're on their 13.
This
part
is video
13.
12 for us.
Video 12, part 13, the melee phase.
Not to be confused with the melee phase.
The melee?
Melee. It's very melee.
Melee? Like mealy mouth?
Yes, exactly.
Whatever. So I guess the question is, do we go ahead with their numbers from now on or just go with ours? Don't know. Anyway.
We'll decide that in the next video.
Part 12 of the series. Chapter 13 in the book.
Yes.
Because the chapters changed a little bit. If you notice, some of those early ones got confused a bit as well. All right. Apply no longer. So, start of the melee phase. It just looks like nothing's changed.
Nothing's really changing it.
You're engaged in combat. You're considered engaged in combat if one or more models are engaged in combat.
Right. Just finding that.
Yep.
Who's no longer engaged.
Yeah, nothing.
Not touching anymore, basically, as before.
I'm not touching you.
Stop touching me.
Round of combat sequence. I like this. I like that they've done this. It's nice that it's there. Because you start the round, you choose your weapon, you make way, then you issue and accept duels. I like having this spelled out, clarified. I mean, it was in the last set as well. I'm just reiterating.
Just for clarity, duels are the old challenge.
It was in the old game we used to play. It was just such a pain that everyone says that there were so many at the start of the phase. You do this, and it's like, well, there's 17 different things that do at the start of the phase. Which one goes first? So again, very nice that this is done this way. Determining your initiative order. Okay, that's based on
your agility. So
shouldn't that be agility? I guess it's still initiative, but it's based on agility. Okay.
I guess it could be combat order. It could be anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So as before, I mean, he who has the better agility goes first.
Higher agility goes first. Yep. Charge momentum. This is the new thing. If you charged in the first round of combat, you get +1 agility.
Yes. In the first round of combat.
In the first round of combat. Good. Nice. You to point that out.
Yeah.
Supporting attacks work just like they did before. Nothing really changed here. They've changed some wording on them. But other than that, the supporting attacks changed.
And they've got the diagram, the one on the left, they're showing you supporting attacks. So, and they're showing you the rectangle. What's
the
it called?
boundary rectangle.
The boundary rectangle, yeah.
Yeah, because there's actually 3 guys here and 3 guys here, which cannot attack in this combat.
Right.
Unless this guy's had spears or something like that.
Yeah, some
in
fight
this
next
case,
to rank roll or whatever. But it's showing you the guys blocked in are the ones that are in contact, and even though the one on the bottom, blue, is not in contact with the model, he's in contact with the boundary rectangle of the green unit.
So he projects across.
So he projects
and fights
across, and then so does his support behind him.
Right.
And
which is interesting. They've got the horde. They've got a 10 wide unit instead of 8. I mean, it's still possible.
Well, maybe it's a unit with spears.
And go 10 wide.
Yeah.
Just because you want more poking.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. To the right diagram, the B diagram, you'll see a kind of a major change in this, and this is a war machine.
The only thing on round bases.
The only thing
that you can fight in combat.
I guess that you can fight, correct.
Yeah.
Because you can't fight the wrecking teams.
Right.
So now when you charge a war machine, you have to maximize against it. And you can see they've maximized here, by hitting it dead center and the 2 guys on each side.
So basically, you have to figure out the angle that you're coming in and then project straight forward to the edges of the round base.
Correct.
To determine if you're in contact or not.
yeah, it's going to be a little. I mean, it's a 3-inch base, so technically you should be on 5 25 millimeter guys.
Yeah.
If you go
We,
with
we
the
assume
inch,
this is a 75. Does it say it's a 75
it
millimeter
doesn't
base?
say
Yeah.
either way.
We assume it's a 75 millimeter
If it's
base.
a 60 millimeter base, it still works. If these are
Yeah.
20s,
Yeah.
So either way,
Well, the overlaps wouldn't work.
yeah.
Oh, if it's 20s, yes.
60, yeah.
Yes, if they're 20s, you're
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
So what they're saying is these 5 count as in being base contact. These 5 get supporting attacks.
Right.
These 3 and these 2 are out of the fight.
So there's no more, send 6 guys in
Right.
in your fight. It's just what you can project forward towards the round base. So no more
Correct.
hitting it with the corner of your unit.
No more with hitting it with this bare corner and the whole unit stretching out here and just pick 6 guys to send in to
Right.
fight it.
And it follows the same maximize rules. So you still have
Correct.
to try to maximize the number of guys in contact.
Yeah, I kind of like this. It's going to cuts down a little bit of fiddliness, but I mean, this may get a little hairy on.
Yeah, I think
lining up,
projecting the lines may be a little tricky for some people. May have been easier to do just must be contacted in the center, but
Right.
okay. May need to make some what do you call it? Templates.
Square templates to
No, like a horseshoe template, so it fits on your base, so you can.
go see.
Yeah.
I think you just do the extrapolation based on the size of your base.
Yeah.
Is the way I think it's going to end up working for the most part.
More than likely.
The other thing to note is while we're here on War Machines are no longer auto hit in combat.
Right, which we'll get to when we get to the machine
I
point.
don't know that they actually mention it. That's just not there.
It's no longer a rule. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to get to the War Machine section for
Right.
that to come up. But anyway, so there's no weird. We did the whole videos on the funky things about aligning your arranging your overruns for this, and it's
Yes.
a lot of it is gone. Now you still have a little flexibility in the way you come in and hit it. You
still
can still aim in different directions.
You still pick your angle. You just have to maximize the number of models.
And there's some descriptions about who can fight, like we just talked about.
Although even that can, your angle is going to matter because it's going to affect your ability to maximize.
Correct.
So you can't come in at a really strong angle because it could result in the end guys not having the overlap.
Not overlap, and you have to maximize.
Yeah, so you do have to kind of face the war machine.
Okay. Again, all these rules just seem to be rewritten to include the new health
Nomenclature.
pools
Yes.
and attack modifiers.
So hits work, swirling melee.
Swirling melee works exactly like it was before.
Right.
Rank and file can fight through characters.
You can always rank and file can always attack rank and file. No difference there.
Challenges are now duels. But, you're locked in a duel, rank and file can fight through the guys in the duel.
Right. Rolling to hit. This is very different. Well, not very different, but it is different.
The chart's different.
Yes. The basics still work. You compare your weapon skill to their weapon skill, but now it's your offensive weapon skill to their defensive weapon skill. Determine the difference between the two, and based on the difference, determines what your 2-hit number is. Which is what it was before. I haven't looked, actually, if they've done a table. I'm sure there's a table to help people along. The difference here, though, is we've basically put new extremes in. So if you're 4 or more better than your opponent, your offensive weapon skill versus defensive skill, you actually hit them on a 2-up.
Right. That used to be more than... Okay. 4 or more better, yes. Good point.
And then if you're 8 or less, so that's very extreme, you only hit them on a 6+. So this is only going to apply to people that are 1s or 2s and they're fighting 9s and 10s. So,
correct.
Which could happen in with spells and such, but...
Right. The one thing we thought this was going to affect, fear, does not affect this any longer.
No, because fear has a different rule now.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's different. It's more extremes. It's only going to matter to my concern is the characters and big, huge things like the Demon of Wrath, Scourge of Wrath, being able now to hit on 2s, and you're relying on that thing missing once or twice to have a chance of surviving.
So yeah, you're not going to see the skews unless it's the Uber character slash Gribbly,
right?
Which they're all characters if they have really high weapon
That's
skill.
True. Yep.
Versus just the trash guys, or maybe if you have a spell that's been able to really knock you down a lot.
Yep.
Or knock you up a lot.
Bump your...
Just don't get knocked up. That's kind of a basic rule. And
Moving on, we have duels. Duels are, just like I said before, duels are challenges. Nothing's really changed except for the name.
Yes.
There's a minor change in here in that when your discipline is set to 0, there used to be a rule, something about if it was the general that declined, his rule was set to 0 until the end of the combat. Now it's only during that combat phase.
Right.
The extent of how long these things are gone.
Yeah.
It's a minor change there, something to note. I don't think many people noticed the other one anyway.
Right.
You just go through this, fighting a duel, overkill, and the part about being able to stomp here at the lower, you get to do all your attacks.
Right.
No even if he's dead before you're...
No matter what the agility rating is of them.
Because you want to generate combat res. It
Right.
generates combat res by stomping on someone's dead body in front of their friends.
Which was the same as the last version.
Yes.
So. And there's your overkill, still +3.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, units actually fighting, then these are basically the terms if you win or loss. It's pretty much the same as before, if I recall. Health points are old wounds, so each health point that you've taken is 1 overkill. For the challenges which we just talked about, up to a +3. Same charge. This is an interesting one. During the first round of combat, after unit charge into this combat, the charges side receives +1. What did they get rid of? I don't have to remember.
They changed the charging.
The hill. This is where the hill went away. So there was a rule that they'd put in for a while, which if you charge downhill and you got a +1, that's not there anymore.
Correct.
So you just get it if you're charging on the turn that you're charging.
Yep.
Which I'm assuming will also apply to if you overrun and hit somebody else. I think it's a clarification.
Yeah, because you count as charging.
Yeah.
So, rank bonus, what it was.
No change there.
The only change there is units in line formation, which is the old horde formation, do not get a rank bonus.
Right.
They still count as having ranks. They still, as far as being steadfast and for their other stuff, but
they don't count, which is in the horde formation rule. So it's nice that they repeated it here.
Yeah.
Standard, same as last edition. A lot of people still, I've noticed, I've run into a number of people that don't know this. That it's a +1 per standard.
Per standard, rather than
Even though this is not a change for this edition, but
right.
It's a reminder because I've seen it happen.
Yeah, because you'll run into a couple of casual players who don't really notice that. Flank and rear where they were.
1 or 2, 2 or 3, same as before.
And then just a summary.
Right, of the modifiers. So really the only thing that's changed is the charging downhill.
And the to hit chart, right?
As far as
as far as the combat.
How you win, yeah.
Okay. Break test. Units cannot use steadfast if it's engaged in cover, flank, or rear with enemy at least 2 ranks. Okay. Still the disrupted ranks.
Right.
Where it was before.
Yeah.
So nothing different there.
So steadfast is the same. If you've got more ranks, you're still steadfast.
A couple nice diagrams about combat that start as 4 units and kind of splits into 2 different separate combats because the gap gets killed.
Right.
The thing that links them together.
And where you have, when you have maybe 3, it's easier to shift guys. But when you get into the situation where you have large combats, you just can't always shift your guys to stay in.
Right. So, like I said, in this example,
and it's not common, but this is exactly when that would happen when
correct.
You're aligned along the back, and the guy runs out of ranks. You know.
Base kind of pursues pretty much the same.
Yes, you have to just correct. That's not where the change is.
Yeah, the changes.
Overrun is the same. Roll for flee distance and pursuits.
Here is where the flee distance and fleeing units is where we really start getting into a difference.
Yeah.
Sorry, it starts here.
Mm-hmm.
If several units fleeing for combat, okay. No, sorry, I was wrong. It is down here.
It's down in the flee.
So basically, what it's saying in this one is, if you have two units in combat, your opponent breaks. You choose which unit he flees away from.
Correct. So it's no longer the center of the largest unit.
Correct.
You pick the unit, and he flees directly away from it.
And that's this next step here, is you flee directly away. It's no longer center to center.
Right.
So once he chooses which unit you're fleeing from, you go from directly away.
And this, I think, makes it easier. And as we were chatting earlier, you brought up it's some of the people who really think hard about how to remove casualties. That all goes. There goes our video on that.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
That goes away now. Now the decision is you want to decide how you're fleeing people, and then how you're charging people as far as the flee direction is, contact them on multiple sides and which way you want them to go.
Yeah. Once you've won, you can pick which one they run from. And then
which gets rid of some of the wonky stuff you had before.
It does, and of course this step here is just kind of pursuing units. You'll have to read through. This is all the thing about how you do the virtual pivots to chase the guy you've just beaten,
right? And
run them down, and the possibility of running ahead and running into something else,
right?
And it gives you the options. What happens if it's just moving ahead, running into a board edge, running into an enemy unit. And then somewhere down here, there's some nice diagrams. There we go. There's the basic flee. You can see in this picture in the last edition of the rules, he would have been running off here to the right. To the right side because of the center line. Right. Now, as you can see,
he rolled a 6 and he rolls 6 inches facing away.
Right.
He's rolled a pursue and he moves 3 inches straight ahead.
Yep. So
very simple.
To me, much cleaner.
Yeah.
And then here's the examples of once they broke from combat, how you can overrun into something else, and another kind of more integrated example with a bunch of things in there.
And there you're clipping it so you're able to turn and
correct
and maximize.
Yep. And there's another picture of if it would have been an obstacle instead of a unit, then you would have stopped an inch away from this unit.
Right, because
you wouldn't go all the way to the obstacle.
Right.
Like I said, very nice diagrams to explain what they're talking about here. In this case, they make perfect sense and looks really good.
Yes, and a simpler methodology.
Yeah, it's not going to do very well in my black and white printer, though. Combat reforms end up being the same as what they were before.
Right.
In the version we had earlier, there was a slight change, but that kind of got taken back out. At the end of each combat reform, you must have as many models in your base contact list as before. So I don't think much of all of this.
Well, so this is the point I just to hit on because this came up, I think, in the last game we played. It's at the end of each combat reform.
Correct.
Not at the end of the...
at the end of all the reforms.
Of all the reforms.
Which was a version we saw at one point.
Yeah. So if you go first, you still have to keep your maximization. And if you go second, you still have to keep your maximization. So you could actually not have an opportunity to shift at all because the guy's maximized you into a corner. Which can often make it important to hope that you win on your turn so you can go first.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. And of course, the combat reforms. For those of you who still are not aware, the active player chooses who reforms first, not the winner of the combat. The active player chooses who reforms first. All right.
Yeah. And I think that brings us to the end of...
That does. To the melee phase.
Or melee.
All right. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Melee.